I'm here watching these guys in action, one of the casual pitches we have in Singapore. These guys, yep, look like they'd come after work. And I'm going to play some football too, but I'm waiting for a special friend to come and join me.
Hey Steve.
Hey, how are you, man? Thanks for
Good.
coming by. And this is the friend I was talking about. Are you ready for some football?
I am, are you?
Let's go.
I've probably played soccer only about 10 times in my life, so I'm pretty excited to be playing ball with Singapore's national team captain. Hope I don't mess it up. While I know what I am up against, these guys aren't expecting a star player to join them today.
Oh, hey guys, sorry to interrupt. We're actually filming a show, Talking Point, and we're doing a story about football. Do you mind if I come and join your game? Me and a friend? Yeah? Okay.
How many are you gonna score?
Just how many goals we're gonna score? I think he could score a few, maybe, you know?
Hello guys. Hey. Hey, nice to meet you.
Hello, hello.
Hey, nice to meet you.
guys.
Yep, I'm with you.
Good. Yeah.
Shoot, yeah, shoot. Okay, rebound. Yep.
Hey!
Oh, nice. Nice cross. Yep, got him. Yep. Okay, yes, Steve, you got it.
Oh. Thanks for a good game, a good workout. So, okay, now I can ask you. Do you think he's a good player? How many of you watch our Singapore football, like watch Singapore Premier League? Or how many of you have never been to a Singapore Premier League game? I admit I haven't, so
Oh,
not
really?
before this show.
Teenage years, yes.
Yeah? And how many of you do watch the EPL? Now, this is Haris Harun. He is the captain of our national football team.
No wonder it looks so familiar. I see him before.
Were you surprised to see him here today?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
To be honest, he's one of the very few Singapore players that I know and admire. So, of course, very surprised and good to play together.
For him to come is a big deal for me personally. Not every day you get to play with a pro player for sure.
So, Haris, how did you find this game?
Yeah, I was just telling some of them it's a nice change of scenery for me. Being here was quite nice to let loose, play wherever I want to play, you know, score some goals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we let you score. How do you feel about the fact that most of these guys here don't really know about our national football players?
It's not a surprise, to be honest. I think definitely football through all levels, a lot more can be done. 10-15 years ago, we were probably the best national team in Southeast Asia, you know. But we have to be honest with ourselves. We lost our ways somehow, so we are where we are right now. But it's not the end.
We were once considered a regional powerhouse. But in recent years, the silverware cabinet's been collecting dust. Singapore football has been on the decline in recent years. Today, we're ranked 161st in the world out of 210 countries and territories, right below New Caledonia. We've also fallen behind our neighbours and traditional rivals.
The national project, Unleash the Roar. Among its goals is for Singapore to qualify for the 2034 World Cup.
It's exactly 10 years to 2034. What exactly do we need to lift Singapore football? My search for answers begins here in Spain.
But there could only be one victor, and it was La Roja who raised the silverware.
I'm here in Madrid, Spain, and this year alone, Spain has won just about everything there is in football. So if we want to compete in World Cup 2034, well, this is the kind of competition we're up against. Check it out, it's a Sunday morning. I'm here to catch a local game. We're just about 30 minutes out from the city centre in Madrid, but you can hear the music, I can see the crowd, the buzz is there. This should be exciting. Hello, okay, thank you.
This is Torrejon and Las Rozas, two local Madrid clubs battling out in a league game. It may be the fifth tier of Spanish football, far away from the bright lights of the Bernabeu Stadium, but you could mistake the passion and intensity of this 1,500-seater stadium for a prime-time top-tier La Liga match.
Why do people come? There seems to be a lot of support for the teams.
It's a way of life. They are not just family and friends, they are citizens from here.
How important is football in the local culture here in Spain?
It's the most important sport here in Spain.
Yeah?
Since you are a little kid, there's no comparison with any other sport.
These footballers, do they have other jobs?
They have a day job and this is more like an extra, but also they spend a lot of time. They have like 5 trainings during the week and also the game.
Kids from as young as 4 join local semi-professional clubs like these, and then slowly progress to professional leagues if they show potential. Which is what happened to Juan Flores Zepeta. He played for a small team in a poor Madrid neighborhood when he was 8. At 17, he was scouted to join Atletico Madrid, one of Europe's top professional clubs. Almost 2 decades later, he's one of the top guys at Spain's professional league.
What would you say is the secret to the success of Spanish football?
Well, the truth, Stephen, is that there is no one secret. It's the football culture. We are a football country, and that means that from the very early ages, the kids play football anytime, at any place. And we have a lot of different academies, clubs in every small or big neighborhood where the player's pathway can be really individualized. And very important one is the training methodology and the coaches in Spain. The best coaches are in the youth system. People think that the best professionals are in the elite, or in the professional football, but in Spain it's the opposite.
And how does the Spanish football system work?
In Spain we have 2 main separate football organizations, the Spanish Football Federation and La Liga, which is the professional league. Okay? So the Spanish Football Federation takes care mainly of the non-professional clubs and the youth, while La Liga works very closely with the 42 professional clubs. This federation receives some small fundings from the Minister of Sports, and also they have their own incomes from commercial and sponsors, and also a big amount from TV rights. La Liga is the only top league in Europe not receiving any kind of public funding. So everything La Liga has comes from the TV rights, from sponsorships, from commercial agreements. The professional clubs receive big amounts of money from La Liga. 70% of the money has to be used for investment for their future.
So who ultimately benefits from this structure? The Spanish national team. The federation resources help amateur and grassroots clubs develop players from a young age, while La Liga provides them a lucrative professional platform to compete with the world's best.
So it sounds like there are many different parties involved to build this whole football ecosystem. The club can find its own ways to make money. It sounds like they're running it like a business.
Yeah.
Right?
Football clubs now are not only football, it's about business, about communication, the infrastructure. Every single part of a club now is focused on business and how we can increase the revenue of money.
How different are things back home?
That's a goal. Sasi Kumar beating the keeper to it.
This is Singapore defender R. Sasi Kumar in the 1998 Tiger Cup final. His shoulder blade won Singapore its first ever international football title. Today, Sasi calls Spain home. He's hung up his boots for a career in sports business. So I'm here not just to talk to him about the beautiful game, but the money in it too.
Come, Steve. Welcome to Madrid.
Wow, check out this view, man. Yeah, so I can see, is this one of the reasons why you moved your whole family here?
Partly the reason, but I think the bigger reason is my boys were showing a bit of talent in Singapore. And I said that if we are going to go all the way, then just let's go where the action is. They have really performed beyond my expectations, and now they're with one of the top youth academies in the world, competing with some of the best players potentially in the world.
Do you think they would not be able to succeed in football if they just stay in Singapore?
In every age group here, in the youth system, Singapore maybe you have a couple of hundred. And just in Madrid itself, in each age group there are about 20,000 competitive players.
Wow.
So you got to be good to play at the highest level here.
So what is it about the system here that you feel works for it?
So let's look at the way football is structured here. They have the federation, and then you got La Liga. It's a for-profit organization. It's purely a commercial entity. So both organizations have a very clear objective why they exist.
So that would be the equivalent of federation would be the FAS in Singapore.
That's right.
And the league would be SPL, the Singapore Premier League.
That's right. The current state of football is not because it happened yesterday. It's because what happened in the last 20 years. So right now what's happening is that FAS and the league are one entity. During the Asian financial crisis, a lot of the budgets were slashed. The decision makers felt that regrouping both FAS and S-League at that time would make sense in terms of budgets, in terms of trying to operate as one unit, shared services and stuff like that. But when things got better, they didn't see the need to then separate the league because it was convenient for everybody to keep it status quo.
So right now, how does the money flow?
Let me show you on this board.
Okay.
All right? Okay, let's just start with a couple of players here. Okay, like we do in football. The number one here is basically Tote Board, who funds football.
Okay.
So the money actually goes to Sports SG, and Sports SG then disperses to FAS, and FAS has a criteria and certain parameters with the football clubs, and that's where the money goes. So this is the current structure.
Okay.
Singapore has just one organization running football, the Football Association of Singapore. This year, the FAS had $23.4 million in revenue and other income. 80% of that was from Sports Singapore, the country's national sports council. Sponsorships, advertising and broadcasting rights contributed 4%. While the amount of government funding the FAS received was the highest in 10 years, overall, the money's nothing to what we're seeing in Spain. In comparison, the FAS Spanish counterpart, the RFEF, had a budget of $438 million this year. Half of its funding comes from broadcasting rights and sponsorships. Subsidies from Spain's National Sports Council make up just 2.6% of its funding.
How does all of this affect the kind of revenue that Singapore football could get?
It doesn't stop a club from going out there and developing their own revenue streams. What the system has actually allowed for people is to be a little bit comfortable where they are because their revenues are guaranteed.
The SPL, they don't need to, I guess, find their own money. You're saying that's not as effective?
It's obviously not worked for us because as soon as you have a for-profit organization, an entertainment product, just like the WWE or the UFC or the Formula One, then it operates differently.
But they were private, as you mentioned previously. So did it work at that time?
Yeah, it worked. If you looked at the early days of the S-League, we used to draw crazy crowds. When Geylang used to play, say SAFFC, the old national stadium used to have 30, 40,000 people watching. It then becomes a very commercially viable product for fans and very attractive for sponsors and brands to be associated with. Football becomes a viable job option.
Okay.
If you brought your kids to a SPL match and you guys had a great time, you wear the shirt, merchandise and everything, and your son comes up to you and says, Dad, one day I want to be playing in the national stadium, you probably say, yes son, let's go pursue the dream. So the ecosystem must exist, and part of the ecosystem is a very strong, viable, attractive football league.
But Spain's a much larger country and there's already a lot of money in the system, you know. For Singapore, people will say you need government support.
You're right. We can't take the Spanish model lock, stock and barrel because our context is completely different.
Okay.
So, Steve, I can suggest a model that might actually work for Singapore.
Okay.
The hybrid model where the public and the private comes together. Let's just call the football clubs number 4. Then you got the tote board. Let's introduce another player here because let me ask you a question. What is the biggest liability or cost factor for a football club?
Salaries?
There you go. And if we can then guarantee with tote board, right, that this football club here will take care of the players' contracts,
Right.
which is the biggest liability. Then we introduce the private entity where we can then now be profitable because investor types, agency types, sponsors, equity, capital, these guys find it a bit more exciting to participate because there's no liabilities there. So in this sense, we still can get the government's participation because we need the infrastructure, we still need the funding.
Yeah.
But the private money comes in to make this go to the next level.
It's almost like me saying, I'll give you the land, you just need to pay for the cost of building
Exactly.
the house.
Exactly. So I think this is probably, in my humble opinion, probably the best model that Singapore can adapt.
So our funds are but a fraction of what's in the Spanish football ecosystem. I'm back in Singapore to meet someone who has been playing in the Singapore Premier League for almost a decade. Darren Tay plays for the oldest club in Singapore, founded in 1898. But by day, this is his uniform.
Let's grab a seat here. So I expected to see you, wearing your football gear.
I'm actually a financial advisor as well, apart from being
And
a footballer.
Yeah. Football the only job you had.
No, football in Singapore is not that highly paid. So it was more of a concern of my family. I have a little boy as well.
And are you the only one in the league with the second job?
Maybe about 60% of full-time players also have something on their plate. I think there's about 6 or 7 property agents, and maybe some of them will started like their own business.
Darren isn't the only one I'm meeting. I've also invited Geylang international coach and former national player Noor Ali, as well as Desmond Ong, chairman of Tampines Rovers. When Desmond took over the club in 2017, it was about 3 million Singapore dollars, which is about 2.3 million US dollars in debt.
Okay, so we're going to talk about this big issue about money, funds, investment in the scene. Whether it's in the league, for the player, the coach, the club.
We feel it in recent years, whether it's in terms of being able to get the best players, the best coaches, the best resources even. I think we feel it a bit more, simply because we're starting from such a low base.
It's not even like an understatement to say that it's very low.
And you're not confident that you can just stop playing and have enough savings.
Yeah.
Give me a number. How much are we talking about?
You see, everybody's laughing and looking at the club chairman, right?
Yeah. Many of us are not initiated, not familiar, but when we say low, how low can we go?
Well, if you're just coming through, your first contract is possibly around 1,500. I can speak from my club's perspective. After they've done national service, we try not to pay them less than 2,500 a month, which in the past sounds like quite grand, but in today's environment, it's very hard if you want to start a family, you want to buy a house, so on and so forth. So for my local players, they get paid between 2,500 to my highest paid local player is about 7,000 Sing.
How does it affect you as a coach?
Of course, it affects me because I have part-time players and some of them are still working out. The hardest part is getting these boys in training.
It's a bit of a strange situation. On the one hand, we depend on the subsidies that the government gives us. For us, you ask people for a favor. For some reason, my group of friends grows smaller and smaller every year. People don't answer my call anymore, but you get by. And to be fair, the government tries its best. It's increased funding in the last couple of years. The question now is whether as a league, together as a community, we can make that jump to yet another level.
I would really love to see that one day in Singapore, the football profession be recognized. I think the status of the occupation itself it's really like a mental block in terms of like parents wanting like their kids to actually pursue football as a profession.
The respect for the profession.
Correct, yes. Some of my friends and everything, every time like I speak to them, they ask me like, so what do you do? I say football. Then be like, huh? Oh, football? Oh, can earn a living or something like that. And I think that's a recognition that I do want to see for up and coming players.
Recognize it
not just for the sport as a profession.
Don't be shy to say I'm a
Yes.
football player.
I think this is what you want to see in the future. That these boys actually go out there and compete at the highest level and then come back and contribute to the national team. Currently, we have a small pool of players are doing that. There are lacks of funds, the investment and consistency, better structure, better organization. It was that with the youth system.
In a survey last year, 8 in 10 Singaporeans polled believe that football is still a part of Singapore culture. Yet about 7 in 10 said they currently do not support local football clubs or the Singapore national team. When we talk about how well a country's football team is doing, there's often one person fans hold responsible. Sutomu Ogura is the 7th man to take charge of the Lions in 10 years, the 3rd Japanese in a row, and the man we were all hoping would take Singapore football out of the doldrums. But then this happened. 3 defeats in a row after an initial 2-all draw against China in March, including a heavy 7-0 defeat to South Korea. Is Coach Ogura the wrong man in charge?
Okay, ready? Let's go.
For most of the year, these national footballers play for their own clubs, some in Singapore and overseas.
Go high knees across. Let's go. Nice and sharp. Use your arm.
But for a few days every few months, they come together for centralized training, doing what is called an international break. Today, Talking Point has been given exclusive access to Ogura's tactics and strategies for the national team.
Naki, are you a target? Okay. Okay. Yeah!
Good touch, good touch. Must be front, front, front.
Keep it, keep it, keep it!
Turn. Okay, stop. Too close, difficult, because it's pressure is coming. Same in the game. Okay, play. Yeah, okay, come on.
Do you feel like there's a lot of pressure on you to bring up the game?
Everybody so get pleasure, but for me it's like pleasure is enjoy. For me it's a very exciting. So people is watching for against China. About 28,000 people is coming watching. It's Korean in 50,000 over.
So many people may be asking, how much time do you need to help improve the game?
So this is very hard question for me. Is how many years, how many months? I cannot say. It's like first nearly target for AFF.
Yeah.
Then maybe next year is like we have AFC Asia Cup. Then end of year for SEA Games.
Okay.
This is all important for us.
Do you feel that you have the right skills to help lift up the Singapore team to make them better?
For me alone, I cannot do so many things. So we need more like it's coaches. We need more like a licensed coach. If they are helping a lot for younger generation, it's like getting more like Singapore football improvement.
The national coach is just one part of the equation. There's also this man. While Ogura's in charge of the men's national and under-23 teams, the technical director is responsible for everything else, including youth development.
Pay attention. Here we go.
Come on, boys, come on.
Okay, I see them getting set up. How old are these kids?
So this is the under-13 NDC group.
So help us understand, what is the NDC all about?
The main purpose is to raise the level of young footballers in the country. So the idea is that we get the best young players in the country trained together on a regular basis, probably 3 times a week.
On the weekends, these boys represent their own teams in the Singapore Youth League. We have almost 4,000 kids playing from under 8s to under 17.
Right.
This is the perfect moment for us now to look at the ground. That, okay, who's good? Then comes the next pipeline of the National Development Centre to form an ideal national team.
These initiatives are part of the national movement called Unleash the Raw that aims to create a clear pathway for the national team.
Everything is all new. Of course, there are challenges, but I think everybody is now looking at it as one big blueprint for youth development.
So now this approach and this sort of structured pipeline, why do you think it's going to work compared to what has been done previously?
We don't have this youth league before. Kids in Europe clock in minimally 35 to 40 matches per year, competitive matches.
Yeah.
In order for them to be at that level, we need to create a league which is of a similar approach.
What have we been clocking in before the Singapore Youth League?
On average, like what, 10 matches.
In an ideal world, you'd have the best young players in the country all here. At the moment, we're working towards that.
So right now, not all of them are here. Why is that?
Some of them for different reasons. Some parents, the commitment of training 3 or 4 times a week is too great.
Both of my sons are involved in the program as well.
Okay.
It's natural that parents will react shocked with the amount of trainings, but this is the way to go. This is the numbers that we need to hit.
And we also have to push the message that you can excel academically and in sport at the same time. If you look at countries all around the world, they do it. So no reason why they can't be excellent in both.
One way the Unleash the Raw project hopes to help promising boys and girls score on both the football and academic front. The first full-time scholarship that would allow them to train and study overseas. I'm meeting one of the latest batch of scholars, a week before they pack up their boots for a Spanish adventure.
See, good position there. Okay, playing as a striker forward. What's happening there? What do you do?
I just like push the ball side.
Okay, so that one, your ball mastery must be very good. If not, the opponent will have taken the ball already.
What you're watching now?
We just did his game analysis.
Did you spend a lot of time and effort and money also to train him?
When he was 5, I took up a grassroots coaching license.
So now you're a coach, a football coach? Oh,
yeah. So I took a coaching license to be in the game with him rather than sitting at the sideline.
Are you ever concerned that what if he doesn't do so well and maybe he cannot play football professionally?
I think...
And you spend so much time and effort and money in it.
Correct. I mean, we try our best, but of course in Singapore you need the academic aspect lah. So he have to study hard as well.
What is it about football that you love so much?
When I dribble, I'm able to like feel free during school. It could be stressful also. So football is my escape.
Do you feel like there's a lot of pressure on you, especially since you're taking up a scholarship like this?
For me, pressure is a privilege. I'm able to improve because of this. One day, I hope to represent Singapore in the highest level, maybe play in the World Cup.
In Singapore, football, sometimes when we mention it, people are like, they say we want to get to the World Cup, but most people feel like no hope, What do you think about that?
We do have a lot of criticism from others. They said, how far can football bring you? You still need to bring the bread and butter back home. So I tell him, it's okay. Let them talk because they don't know what you can do. You prove it to them.
There's a lot of haters, but I think that I want to prove them wrong and just make the whole Singapore proud and just shut the haters' mouths.
Today is a happy occasion. We'll be sending our second batch of scholars overseas. Sending our players to Spain is an important part of this whole strategy. It's not the same as a short stint for just a couple of months. It's about being embedded in their ecosystem, their youth competitions, their club's training structure.
Don't close your eyes. 1, 2, 3.
Take care. Alright? You are the best.
I'm quite nervous. It's my first time in a boarding school. I will feel homesick, but I have to sacrifice all this in order to make Singapore proud and also to reach the next level in football.
He's living his dream. Hopefully he soar higher when he's over at Spain. Of course, there are like some concern when he come back to Singapore. Once he come back, he will be like about 16 and he have to go for early NS. That is one of my concerns. He has been progressing so far. Will he like stop his progress when he goes to NS? I don't want him to step down on his training.
For this national project to really take off, it sounds like more pieces need to be in place. Unleash the Raw was first introduced in 2021. This is not the first time that national football strategies have been implemented. In 1998, a national movement was revealed with similar fanfare. So is this what will bring our national team, one of the oldest teams in Asia, to the world stage?
The hungrier you are, the better you're going to be at football.
I'm meeting two men who have been covering the ups and downs of local football, even before our scholars were born.
Okay guys, the latest term is Unleash the Raw. Is this going to change the game?
I think it all boiled down to leadership. Mr. Mabatan, when he was a minister, full minister, and helming football, at that point the Prime Minister, Goh Chok Tong, laid down a mission, right? Singapore needs to qualify for the World Cup in 2010. And guess what? The country was galvanized. You had bumper stickers, sponsors came forward, public agencies came forward, we hired good people. After Singapore lost 4-0 to Malaysia in the then Tiger Cup, there was this luncheon and Mr. Ma asked Jan Poulsen, how's everything? And Jan Poulsen said, all's good. And Mr. Ma said, you just lost 4-0 to Malaysia and you say all's good? So guess what? He was gone after that, right? And then we brought in Reddy. Reddy brought the team to the third round of the World Cup qualifiers, which is never done before. But again, decisions, right? Decision-making, leadership. You brought in somebody whom you thought could actually take us to the next level.
2012 AFF Suzuki Cup champions, it's Team Singapore!
So the right people were in place, making the right decisions. It seems like everybody was on the same page, working towards the same goal. Is this still the case today?
That's hardly the case today. Right? I mean, it's very clear that the Football Association of Singapore, which is the custodian of the sport in Singapore, has no clear idea of how to run the sport. They are given millions of dollars every year, and they have no idea how to spend the money, how to get the right people in, how to build a pipeline of players.
To be fair to the association, $23-24 million a year isn't enough to do everything. The weakness of the leadership is, do you have the connections to bring in the resources to help support football? You take a look at the makeup of the board, right? The people who actually run the board will have to be of a certain caliber. And think about the Football Association of Singapore's executive committee, right? I would ask you, right, can you even name one of them? There you go.
Yeah.
Mainly because the constitution keeps it that the only certain group of people can actually take part and become the president of the Football Association. Today, if President Tharman wants to become the FAS president, he can't.
So it becomes a bit of an inner circle. You have to be in the loop before you can even get in, which means you may not always be able to bring in good people and expertise to help build up the sport. So if I can put it to you plainly, do we have the wrong people in positions of power in the football scene today?
Well, I think the answer to your question is yes.
And just like our national team, the Football Association of Singapore is one of the oldest football associations in the world. The FAS held its first elections in 2017, following a directive from world governing body FIFA to do so. Current President Bernard Tan was the only candidate for the role in the most recent elections. Some critics feel he is responsible for the current plight of Singapore football. I'm going to confront him.
So it's been 1 year since you took over as FAS president. If you had to now give yourself a report card, what kind of report card do you think it would be?
I'm quite happy that we have made substantial progress. We've introduced quite a significant amount of things related to the youth development, and we have even more things to come. Why we are where we are. The decline doesn't happen just overnight. If you talked about Goal 2010, we started a whole movement towards naturalizing players. And it worked in helping us to win 4 AFF tournaments. But it wasn't a sustainable strategy. I may be representing this unfairly to my predecessors, but the success that we were having probably masks the urgency to actually build a youth development system.
But all this also requires money to keep the whole system working, right?
This is one of the structural problems, is how we fund football, right? UTR coming in, this has added huge amount of money. So while the FAS continues with a lot of the programs, it now joins together with UTR, which is separately funded, in order to develop the programs to develop the youth.
Football, of all the sports in Singapore, gets the most funds from the government. So is this money being well spent?
I just dare you to do any research what's spent in Malaysia and what's spent in Thailand and what's spent in Indonesia. It is a multiple of at least 3 to 5 times, right?
Another argument is that in the council, there are certain constitutional criteria which limit sometimes perhaps getting the best people on board.
So there's a lot of leeway for us to have advisory boards and councils to actually augment what is in the FAS. It doesn't stop the FAS from getting specialist talents in communications, in fundraising. It doesn't stop it.
But right now, does it have all that expertise?
We are going to form a couple of new structures already for this upcoming Congress. By the time this program is viewed, I think 2 will come up. And if allowed to, that's not where I will stop.
This is a sport much loved by many in the country, which is why they also really want to see our guys do well, our football scene rise, Are you the best person for that job? Bring it up.
No, come on, Steve, that's not really a fair question, right? I think there are much more brilliant people than me, right, that could actually do this job. But I find myself here, right? I'm already reaching, nearly 60. When I want to do things now, I want to leave an impact. Having spent so much time in football, I probably understand the ecosystem as well as anybody else, right? So if you ask me whether I'm completely lost, I have clear ideas of what I want to do. I have a roadmap what I think is possible. It is something that I think is realistic and something I think Singapore can achieve, together obviously with the support of the wider ecosystem.
The FAS counts government agency Sport Singapore as one of its partners for Unleash the Roar. Sport Singapore is an agency under the Ministry of Community, Culture and Youth. Minister Edwin Tong, who is in charge, has been aggressively promoting local football since 2013. Today's shootout is probably one of his toughest yet. Together with 2 veterans of the football establishment,
Let's go!
he'll be facing off with arguably Singapore football's toughest critics.
Okay, come, let's grab a seat, guys. So we're here to talk football.
Yep.
Very quickly, the state of Singapore football today, if I have you rank it on a scale of 1 to 10, what number would you give it? Tenga?
5. Yeah, around 5. Probably the same. I would say can be better, much better.
Frankly speaking, I would say 4.
Okay.
The results have not been forthcoming. That is the thing. And football is a results business, right? So I think there's so much more work to be done.
4 as well. I think on and off the pitch, there's much to improve. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got 5s and 4s. That's about where we start. There are many different things being done to try and, literally change the game. Is this going to be any different from what's been done before?
Well, Steve, look, we've got a bold, ambitious project with UTR. It's not going to be an overnight project, but give it some time, and I think we will see some results.
And that is key, starting them young. Do you guys agree? I mean, what's your view on that?
In the past, we have the COE Under-16 National Football Academy. So those things have been tried in the past. It didn't really work out. So what is going to make it different this time around?
I don't think we have seen in Singapore a project of this scale where we are trying to open up the base as much as we can. The real fundamental problem was we weren't building a pipeline of young players. And that's why UTR is meant to address that.
And I try to get newcomers to the game. Sometimes we see a bit of trouble because it may not be as professional as it looks. For example, when it comes to Singapore Premier League website, there's no list of top scorers even. If you look at Unleash the Raw's website as well, there's a season preview of the league 2 years ago, but then last year and then this year as well, there's no season preview. I wonder if these are the things that are impediments to people getting corporate funding.
Yeah, so professionalism is not just on the pitch, I think it's off the field as well. I think it's a whole package.
But you must understand, we're only 26 years old in the league now. But the leagues, you're talking about hundreds of years old. We still got some way to go before we achieve what we want to achieve.
Does that mean we need another 50 years to...
You don't need 50 years, you need to get it right.
Well, let me turn the question on its head. Why don't CNA go down and cover the games in detail
like what you used to
with
do before.
6 camera angles, with instant replay,
we
and then you package
it, right?
the matches
and
put them up on social media as highlights? Why don't we do that? I mean, I talk about the media as being a big partner for us. We can get the media involved. Once you do that, I think fans like Eddie will be able to convert even more.
Now that's a chicken and egg situation, right? The media will do that, commit time, resources to doing it if there's entertainment, if there's news value. So the football must improve.
But gentlemen, if our Singapore team is in World Cup, for example, oh my gosh, I tell you, we will all be fully there to support.
Steve, let me just stop you there.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be the World Cup.
Yeah.
Okay. If tomorrow we are in the other AFF and we are competing, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, playing well against Vietnam, I tell you, people will tune in. This experience will be there.
Youth system is the correct way. Maybe in 5 years' time. Now we don't talk about the World Cup. Let's consistently go into under 16 AFF, AFC.
Since we have mentioned the World Cup, we just need to clarify this because for a long time we keep hearing World Cup 2034, right?
Look, this project is not about getting to the World Cup. If I told you, look guys, we'll get into the World Cup 1 year, qualify, but thereafter we'll be back in where we are again. Will you be happy?
No.
No. We want this to be a sustainable project. And every year we must get better and better and better. So we must always have aspirations, dreams, targets. And we build on that.
So if we wait, we can see some results in about 5 to 6 years? Some of the young players who are now 14, 15,
Yeah, I strongly believe, because now we have got about 2 batch has gone to Spain, right?
Yeah.
In 2-3 years. When we come back to Singapore, we have got about 8 players who have played at a very high level.
I have to ask you about national service for the boys. Because they start at 14, 4-5 years, they'll be 18, 19. Some people feel that that's a real break in just at the peak, So how are we going to try and...
I think we can navigate this. We have got greater objectives in Singapore to serve, and national service is a part of that. So rather than keep saying that it's negative, why not take the positives? A boy going through national service changes mindset and mentality, turns into a fighter, into someone who is passionate about Singapore, caring for the teammates. All of these are values that we want to see on the pitch. I think as a country, as a sport, we can accommodate national service and still do well in our sporting ambitions.
I'm back in Spain with a special group of boys who have just embarked on a 2-year adventure.
You guys haven't been in front of
Okay, you're so laughing.
You've done this before, right?
But I never done this with you.
Hey guys, hello.
Hello.
Wow, I've come all this way just to see you guys. Okay, who wants to volunteer to show me their room? Okay, let's go. Show me the way. Oh, it's quite cozy. So all of you have moved here the same time, right?
Yes.
So who snores?
Last night was horrible.
Oh no! Is there something special each of you have brought from Singapore to remind you of home?
So I brought food. Aidan also brought food. Rendang, rice, instant noodles.
I brought my teddy bear.
Your teddy bear?
I think I just brought him. He was there since the day I was born.
Wow!
By the end of September, Putra and his peers would have been training here at Rayo Alcobendas for a month.
¡Hola! ¡Eso es! Te vas demasiado, yo me vengo contigo, es fácil. Let's go, my friend. Let's go. Better here or better Singapore?
Here.
Only because they are Spanish guys.
The standard here is quite high. There's a lot of good players. It's going to be quite tough here.
all the coaches and players, they all speak Spanish, so you have to really adapt quickly.
If you are a superstar in Singapore and you come to Spain, you are basically a nobody.
Break into the A team and hopefully get picked up by a club and secure a contract here.
Here in Spain.
Yeah, that would be the dream, of course.
I really miss home and my parents, but I feel it's part of this journey.
And my family has sacrificed so much for me to be where I am. Football means the world to me. It's like all I know in life. You would tell the future generation that kids like us, Singaporeans like us, have been playing in Europe, like nothing's impossible to achieve.